the gap between the testosterone levels that they should have and the testosterone levels of the healthy man that they are taking, who they are not, this gap creates side effects. So, there's two ways that you solve side effects on TRT. You address the root cause of the poor habits, you increase the injection frequency, and you change the plastic, pollution, and pesticides. These are the primary culprits for what are called endocrine disrupting chemicals. These are exogenous hormonal analogs that are entering the body and are having negative estrogenic effects at the receptor that do not confer the beneficial and protective effects of endogenous estrogens. We are making this worse, and this is what I want to talk about today. Alcohol, poor sleep, poor hydration, poor diet, excess body fat. All of these things in isolation, yeah, you can deal with those. The human body is pretty resilient, but when you combine all these things with these, this is where we get a problem. These are the straws that break the camel's back. We are impairing our ability to detoxify these environmental toxins because we are not looking after ourselves properly, and this is a damn shame. So clinically, for the practitioners out there, what this appears in blood work when you're looking at this is we're seeing low free testosterone, but we're seeing normalized levels of luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. The body is essentially regulating to go, yep, this is where I'm supposed to be. And this is not something that we have seen up until now. I think this picture sums it up pretty well. My friend Dr. Rudy Eberwein refers to it as swimming in estrogen soup. I think that sounds quite thick and disgusting. So I like the proverbial pool of estrogen. This is a fantastic metaphor for what is outside this building right now. Hormone optimization is not a bulletproof vest. I wish it was. It would make my job a fuck ton easier, but it is not. It is not a panacea, but it is a damn important tool to be able to regain your biological masculine birthright. We've got victim mentality, we've got entitlement, we've got it all. So, chronic stress. This is a huge problem whether we realize it or not. And chronic stress can be biological, chronic stress can be psychological, chronic stress can be circumstantial. We are looking at things like chronic pain, obesity and insulin resistant, a nutrient-devoid diet, chronic psychological and circumstantial stress, lack of sun exposure and physical movement, untreated, undiagnosed autoimmune conditions, and chronic dysbiosis and gastric distress. A lot of people tick a lot of these boxes, and it is creating further problems and compounding the challenges that we are having to try to stabilize and optimize male hormone levels in a toxic world which is fighting against us. So what we see in blood work, I'm putting a few little notes in here for the practitioners here, but I'm not going to get bogged down. Elevation in prolactin, cortisol, fasting insulin, blood pressure, resting heart rate, DHEA, which is a proxy for elevated adrenal activation, and reverse T3. These are your markers that someone is biologically stressed. These are the objective markers in the blood work that they are stressed. We are seeing a reduction in immune system function, well-being goes to shit, sleep is disturbed, cognitive function goes down, sexual function goes down, libido and testosterone hit the gutter. What this results in is psychological learned fear. People call this anxiety, but you need to be anxious about something. This is fear of everything for no reason, and this leads to a lack of pleasure in activities that once felt good. So many men out there are experiencing this, but are not talking about it because it is normal. Common is not normal. So, another note for the practitioners here. The number one cause of side effects on testosterone replacement therapy is the original unresolved cause of the secondary hypogonadism and the maladaptive coping mechanisms that came with being hypogonadal for a prolonged period. What does this mean? Feeling like shit often leads people to doing things that are shit for them to try to make them feel better in the short term. When we take someone who has their hormone levels suppressed because they are not looking after themselves properly, and we pump them full of testosterone to match that of a healthy man, it doesn't work out very well. The gap between the testosterone levels that they should have and the testosterone levels of the healthy man that they are taking, who they are not, this gap creates side effects. This is the umbrella for what causes the vast majority of issues that you see clinically. And men don't want to do the work, they want to take the pill. So, there's two ways that you solve side effects on TRT. You address the root cause of the poor habits, you increase the injection frequency, and you change the carrier oil. This is how you solve virtually every side effect on TRT. It is this simple. 2 to 3 injections a week and changing the carrier oil to something like MCT or grapeseed oil can make a drastic difference, especially if you combine it with cutting out the bullshit behavior that they have learned to do to cope with their circumstances. This process is a healing process. Healing is uncomfortable. Healing requires change, and change takes time. If you've just started TRT, it is completely normal to feel overwhelmed and confused. There's a lot of new territory to cover, and there is a lot of conflicting information. I wrote TRT 101 so that you can have everything that you need to know in an instruction manual in one place that you can refer back to, that you can have all the questions answered before they even come up. TRT 101 is my best practice approach for TRT from start to finish, and it contains everything that you need to avoid all the challenges and pitfalls that I've seen come up in my clients over the last 5 years. You can check it out by the link below. Here's a little tip for everyone in the room, whether you're a patient or a practitioner. How often should you take your TRT? What's the most optimal TRT frequency? As often as you'll do it for as long as you can. The next point that I would like to make is that lean body fat percentage is paramount and biologically necessitated for optimal health on TRT. Every percent above 15% body fat as a man that you are carrying will contribute to insulin resistance. Insulin resistance disrupts your body's ability to utilize glucose to create energy. It fucks up the engine. When the engine's not working properly, the body becomes stressed. When the body becomes stressed, it increases aromatase expression to try to reduce the inflammation. This is an inflammatory response. Blaming estrogen for the symptoms is like blaming the fire engines for causing the fire. It is not how it works. Now, if someone is not on TRT and is living like this, the body then suppresses hormone production. We get negative feedback at the hypothalamus, and this creates an environment where you would never have optimal androgen levels. It just wouldn't ever biologically happen. So you come in, being the smart individual you are, and you go, okay, my body's pumping the brakes. I don't like this. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to pump the accelerator at the same fucking time. That is not going to lead to a smooth ride forward. This is going to lead to stuttering. This is going to lead to solving one problem, but creating 2 more. Now, in these situations, because as a practitioner or as a clinician, you are going to meet many men who are not looking after themselves properly, who do have metabolic syndrome, but they still need your help, because testosterone is part of the process for them to heal their sick and inflamed body. And one of the best tools that we have at our disposal is using a trans-scrotal 20% cream. And the reason for this is that when someone has high levels of cortisol, prolactin, and estradiol, this suppresses the production of the enzyme 5-alpha reductase. When we suppress 5-alpha reductase and the production of DHT, dihydrotestosterone, which is like super testosterone, the balance between androgens and estrogens goes out of balance. And subjectively experiencing this doesn't often feel good. When we use a cream and we have more exposure to the 5-alpha reductase enzyme in the skin, we're able to bypass this process and create a biological environment which pushes a man's health more into the direction of where it should be. This means that when you take patient populations, such as people who are obese, insulin resistant, liver disease, alcoholism, post-finasteride syndrome, post-SSRI sexual dysfunction, these guys usually are problematic. These guys get the side effects. When you use the cream, you get significantly less issues in the population of men who are the most prone to side effects. This is a game changer. If you are in the room working with TRT, you need to know how to use the 20% trans-scrotal cream. You're going to hear this a lot during this speech, and you're going to hear this a lot during this event, I'm sure. But just to get it out of the way, practitioners who know how to do TRT properly know that you never have to inhibit aromatase. The next point I want to make is that if you want to treat testosterone, you need to know how to treat the thyroid. All the factors that I mentioned before, the environmental disruption of hormone production, it's messing with the thyroid in the same way it's messing with the testosterone. It's messing with women's thyroids, it's messing with women's production of progesterone, it is messing with these two hormonal systems, and if you want optimal testosterone, you have to have optimal thyroid. If you have subclinical hypothyroidism, your androgen receptors will be downregulated, your estrogen receptors will be upregulated, and it won't feel the way it's supposed to feel. Testosterone builds the boat, thyroid puts the wind in the sails. I like things in threes, so part 4 didn't feel quite right. So I just called it testosterone. You're going to hear a lot about testosterone over the next couple of days, so I thought this would be fitting. So, I got some feedback last year from the talk that I gave, which was that my slides were a bit too text heavy. So Ali said, Dave,